I want to tackle this question that we got from Feep in the Discord channel today, because it's such a good question. I really want to talk about it. Are idle games games? So I will preface this by saying that both Marco and I have extensive experience with one particular idle game, and I think it was probably the one that kind of set the whole idle game craze into motion, which is Cookie Clicker. Anybody in the chat play Cookie Clicker? Marco, how many cookies do you have? Or what's your CPM right now? I quit like years ago, but Dad Tries Gaming used to love that.
30 quattrodecillion.
Nice. Quaint.
Yes.
But
I've been playing this for almost 10 years. Probably like 9 years. This run.
Well, not on that same save.
Yes. I started playing...
And that's all you're at?
Well, I play passively.
Okay.
Idly.
Sure, yeah. I guess that's the topic of discussion, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So yeah, Feep asks a great question. What is the definition of a game? Like, what makes a game a game? I think there are depending on how you answer this question, obviously, you're gonna come to a different answer depending on, or it's gonna affect how you answer the question of, are idle games games? There are, I think, out there quite a few people who define a game as having to have a fail state or a score value of some kind, that you are either trying to not fail at something, right? Or you're trying to set the high score to beat the other people who are playing the game, to set a higher score than them, or whatever the fail state may be, right? But the idea is that you can do well or you can do not well, depending on your performance in the game. I don't necessarily subscribe to that definition of game, but I know that there are people out there who do. And for those people, when they look at idle games, they will say, no, that is not a game. Because you can't really, there's no fail state, right? Toaster Lover, what up?
Hey.
We're talking about idle games. Are they games? Let me know what you think in the chat. But yeah, I think if you take a very strict definition of game like that, then it's hard to call an idle game. And now, it also depends on the kind of idle game, because the ones that I'm familiar with, and I'm sure that there are others out there that don't handle things this way, but the ones that I've played, you don't ever take steps back, but you can do things to take faster steps forward, right? So in Cookie Clicker, you can sit there and let it run, or you can click the cookie. At its most basic level, there are two things you're doing. You're either sitting there and letting it run, and it's generating your cookies for you, and your score goes up, or you sit there and click the cookie to make that happen faster. But really, at no point do you ever take a step back. The only exception to that is when you, what is it called? It's like prestiging, but it's not called prestiging. What is it called?
Ascending.
Ascending, thank you.
I mean, you can sell buildings, and that can be considered a step back.
Yeah. True. So let's check in on chat here. Toaster Lover says, my first and only thing that I can, I'm assuming he means say about idle games is, I don't know what idle games are. Okay. I'll get back to that in a minute. Dad Tries Gaming says, I used to play Adventure Capitalist, and they added events to allow tiers and a first place. Okay, interesting. So I imagine that as these types of games got popular and more of the general gaming public got interested in them, there was more pressure on devs to include things like high scores and tiers or whatever, like weeklies, things like that. And then I think the most heinous example of this, and the one that I say heinous, but the one that I'm embarrassed to admit to. Sockshawk, thank you so much for the follow. What kind of fun do you think we're going to have today? The thing that I'm embarrassed of is there's this game on Android. It's probably on iPhone. It's probably on everything, called Egg Inc. Are you guys familiar with Egg Inc? It's the same thing. You're hatching chickens. And actually what you're doing is you're selling eggs. But the more chickens you have, the more eggs you're generating, right? I don't believe it's a Flash game, although I wouldn't be surprised if it started out as a Flash game and then was later updated. It feels like Unity to me. If I had to guess, I would guess Unity, but I'm not 100% on that. But no, I mean, it's more recent than the Flash game era, I think. So you might be thinking of something that this was eventually remade into. I'm not sure. But the thing about Egg Inc., I got super into it for a few weeks, and I fucking spent real life dollars that I could have spent, I could have spent on fucking Taco Bell, on fucking Red Bull. No. I spent it on, I forget what it's called, like a golden egg or something.
Oh, no.
To like, to make my production times 20 or some stupid shit, which is just god damn it. No, wife, I never did that. It's just a bit. This is all just a bit. I've spent money on ad cap. Yeah. Dude, they fucking get you on that shit. Oh, fuck, I'm in trouble. But yeah, they get you on this shit, right? Because literally how you feel like you're succeeding in the game is when you make these steps forward in how fast you can generate more cookies or eggs or whatever. So when you're able to do a shitload of that really, really fast, it's like, it's a direct fucking shot of dopamine into your brain. And they know exactly what they're doing. The people who are selling you that shit. They know what they're doing. So, okay, let's go back to the question though. You don't know how much you spent? Okay, I will say I only spent probably, I did not spend more than like $20 on this thing. Now,
That's a lot of Taco Bell.
You want to talk about Dota cosmetics? Fuck.
No, what's that?
Yeah, oh, you don't know anything about that, huh, Marco?
No, I don't know anything about that.
So idle games can be predatory? Dude, I would almost argue that idle games, for what they're actually selling you and how they're manipulating you into buying what they're selling, they're almost more predatory. Like, they're as predatory at least, or perhaps more predatory than like gacha games, than your fucking Genshin Impact and all those, right? In Genshin Impact, they went to the trouble of making a game you can play with the characters that you buy in the chests or whatever they're called, right? But like in idle games, you are literally spending money so that you can watch numbers go up higher on your phone or computer or whatever. That's fucking dirty, dude. I just remembered I've made an idle game.
Yeah.
I've made an idle game. I forgot. Go check out Nax Cool Clicker on itch. Here, I'm going to put it in the chat.
No microtransactions, though.
No microtransactions. Hold on, let me find it. I fucking made one. Hold on. Have fun, boyos. Anyway, so, Toaster Lover, if you're still in the chat, I want to answer your question from earlier, which is, what is an idle game? So an idle game is, and I kind of went over this earlier, but I'll restate it. An idle game is a game where you are, let's say, points. You're getting points, and sometimes those points are represented by eggs. Sometimes they're represented by cookies. Whatever. You're accumulating a score that goes higher and higher and higher. And usually we're talking into the quadrillions, quintillions, numbers so big I can't remember how to say them. They're fucking like big ass numbers, right? And the idea is that at first, in order to generate this score, you have to click a thing. So you click it once and you get 1 point, 1 cookie. You click it again, you get another cookie. Now you got 2 cookies. But as soon as you have 10 cookies, you can buy a thing that will now click the cookie for you every once in a while. And then you can get cookies a little bit faster now because you got you clicking plus this little helper. And then you buy another one, and then you buy another one. And then you end up upgrading those things, and you end up buying other types of things that give you even more of that resource. So essentially, the resource that you are spending is always spent on some thing that will allow you to generate that resource even faster. I don't think I have played those kind of games. Well, I just put one in the chat if you want to give it a whirl. Or you can go play Cookie Clicker, and I'm sorry ahead of time. There's also actually Toaster Lover. You should go play Toaster Lover. Actually, I have honestly the best game for you. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. What's it called? It's called... Hold up. Let me find this game. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Marco?
No. Is there a D&D clicker?
Yep.
Idle Champions?
Yep.
Of the Forgotten Realms?
Yep. Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. Just call me Toaster. Okay, sorry, Toaster. Yes. Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms is a Forgotten Realms AD&D or whatever, AD&D, the fuck? D&D idle game. Where you have characters, they just walk along a path. It's on Steam, it's free. So yeah, here's the thing. I've discussed, I think, to a sufficient extent why you could make the argument that idle games are not truly games, right? Again, if you subscribe to the belief that a game has to have a fail state, or that it has to be quote unquote competitive, or that you can win or lose, then probably you're not going to think that idle games are truly games. However, there are plenty of other types of games that we don't have a better word for, experiences, I guess, that are not necessarily, that don't necessarily have a win state or a fail state. Probably the example that comes to mind is Proteus, which is an old indie game where you're just kind of walking around psychedelic kind of forest, pixely forest, which was cool. But I mean, you're interacting with a world, but you can't necessarily really lose, and there's really nothing to complete. And I mean, unless I never got anywhere in that game, I don't know, maybe there is something to that game that I just missed, but I never saw anything other than just cool landscapes and walking around, and it's all procedurally generated. Any of those, I would say, kind of experience-focused games would fall under the same category as idle games, in that they don't have any sort of fail state. What do y'all think? I think what idle games are, when it really comes down to it, is it's a cheap way to pass the time. The debate is whether they are games. Yes, the question that we're pondering is whether or not idle games are games. Do you have a thought on this, wife? Dad Tries Gaming says not games. Okay. Fair. Like kicking a can is a game. Of course they're games. Interesting. Okay. Even if you can't lose, even if you're just watching a number go higher and higher. They're games, but non-traditional. Yeah. I can see that. It really does just come down to, like, what is a game? Why do we have games? I have this tendency to always think back on, like, why do we do the things we do? Like, everything, for the most part, comes down to, like, the evolutionary reason that we have something. It's a toy, technically. Wife says, you're calling it an idle game? Game? It's a game. I know. But come on, just for the sake of the debate, for the sake of the discussion, let's forget about the part. We call it a game because we don't have a word for what it is. But maybe it is a game. I don't know. But going back to what I was saying, I think I always tend to go back to, like, the evolutionary reasons why we do things. And I've always thought of, voice of reason. Yeah, for sure. I've always thought of games from an evolutionary standpoint, like why we feel compelled to play in general, is because we as humans, as early humans, had a need to compete for survival. So as we evolved with a desire for that competition and for simulations of that competition so that we would get experience engaging in that competition in order to ensure our survival. And that's why I think we have games in the first place. I am not an anthropologist, so I don't know whether I'm on the money on that, but it makes sense. Makes sense to me. To me, from what I have heard from the gaming experts, it seems boring. You mean idle champions? What about the escapism aspect? So here's the thing about idle games that I think is very interesting. I never would sit there and just play the idle game. I enjoyed having idle games like Egg Inc., like Cookie Clicker, like even Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, even though I didn't play it that long. I enjoyed having those games open so that I could have them running and generating points for me while I was doing other things, including working. In fact, while I was teaching, one day a girl came up to my desk to ask me a question, and I forgot to minimize Idle Champions. And she's like, "Mr. B, are you playing a game right now?" And I had to explain, like, it's kind of a game, but I'm not, like, playing it. It's just, like, on my computer right now. I was totally playing it. But yeah, idle games in general, boring. Yeah. I think I agree with that if you are just sitting there only focused on the game. Yeah, I get bored of them really, really quick. Because they are also designed to specifically to not be super interactive, right? Like, you had me play a thing where I burned stuff with fire, lol. Somehow a game. Yeah, Little Inferno. Yeah, literally the point of that game is to set shit on fire. Somehow a game. Yeah. Yeah. I think this was like early in our relationship and you were at my house and I had to do something and you were bored and I was like, "Here, play this." Occupy yourself. I don't know. The only other experience I had with you playing video games was you getting my horse stuck on the roof of the saloon somehow in Red Dead Redemption. So I figured, let's try something on the other end of the input density spectrum. I want to get back to what Dad Tries Gaming said about the escapism aspect, because that's kind of tangential to the like running it as you're doing other work thing, but also as yeah, game mechanic tester. Yeah, dude, you'd be the perfect candidate. Also as escapism. So one thing, I mean, this sounds terrible, but like I would definitely, when I was still smoking cigarettes, I would fire up Egg Inc. while I was out there for a smoke break. And it was just another thing to have in my hand to be doing out there while I was taking a break from whatever it was I was working on or doing at the time. So I definitely see the escapism. And sometimes you want to be able to play games, but you're just so mentally exhausted that you just need the interaction that you get from a video game, but you don't want to have the pressure of, you know, playing games. With like most games, even easy video games, require you to do a thing with a time constraint, or, you know, with there even if it's low pressure, it's still pressure. But idle games are just there. You just do it if you want to, and if you don't, no big deal for the most part. Usually that's how it is. So yeah, Mental tiredness, dude, for sure, for sure, for sure. I think we have an easier time making an argument for the validity and for idle games having a place in gaming and having a reason to exist, for sure. Like, I can definitely see myself in the future going back to an idle game just to have that break from needing to do combos and shit or whatever, right? Like, whatever you're doing in a video game, usually it takes a little bit of quote unquote work. So there's a place for them. There's a need for them. I think whether or not they're games, like, maybe not. Maybe less of an important question than, like, why do we have them in the first place? I wonder if there's a way to make an idle game but include a lose state. Interesting, yeah. Really interesting thought. And at that point, could it really be considered an idle game? Because if the idea is that you can just sit there and let it go, but now suddenly some input is demanded from you, then it's not really an idle game anymore, right?
I mean, that's kind of like bowling. You know, you input at the beginning, and then you're just watching it the rest of the way. And there's a lose state, and there's a not lose state.
Damn. Is bowling the OG idle game? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments.
Nah. Playing with a hoop and a stick is.
That's like the opposite of idle. That shit looks hard. I get competitive in bowling. Is that what you're talking about? So, I mean, we could think about ways to incorporate a fail state into an idle game all night. But off the top of my head, one way that you could look at doing it is you have your cookies per minute, right? The rate at which you generate cookies, but then you also have the rate at which you increase that rate. And you could, for one example, look at, in real time, breaking down day by day how much you advance that rate. And from one day to the next, comparing yourself to your previous score, the game could say, hey, you didn't increase your rate as much today as you did yesterday. But then I suppose you run into a thing where it's like, well, it's kind of impossible, or it takes insane amounts of time to keep yourself at that level. Dude, that sounds like a job. Yeah, I mean, at what point are we just talking about doing work here? Make you feel like a piece of shit? Yeah. Is that the goal that we have here as game devs? What do we want our players to feel like? I don't want him to have...
Animal Crossing recently add an actual job?
Animal Crossing is a fucking job. Animal Crossing! How did we not bring up Animal Crossing yet? Is Animal Crossing an idle game?
No, but is it a game? There's no...
Is it a game?
Fail state.
Can you leave it on the counter for 6 months and come back to your island and it's a fucking barren wasteland? Everybody hates you? Yeah.
No.
Is that a fail state? I don't know.
They don't hate you.
Yeah, I know. Nobody ever hates you in Animal. It's fucking Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
No fun whatsoever. What's no fun? Oh, just like, are you referring back to our goals as game devs? Toaster says, but I can hate them. Yeah. Some of those little fuckers are pretty hateable. Nah, I'm just kidding. They're cute. At worst, they are
Annoying.
annoying, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't hate them. But being held captive on an island to labor for Tom Nook. Dude, yeah, when you think about what Animal Crossing is, that game is a fucking dystopia. Dressed up as a utopia. There's dark shit going on that island. That's funny. Yeah. Is that ever explained? Is it just like, hey, you decided to move to this island where it's going to be very difficult to survive. And it's run by a literal fucking capitalist overlord. Who will rope you in with the promise of paradise and then fucking charge you for it. Forever. And you can't leave. Basically a timeshare, yeah. Yeah, it is, dude, it is. That's really fucking funny. Animal Crossing was fun. Fun game. I don't know. Is it a game? Yeah. There is also, like, there are games and there are toys, right? And there's definitely overlap in what they do. Cool thoughts. Fun thoughts. I love thinking about stuff like this. And I love talking about it with cool people like you guys. Thanks for being cool. Do we want to play a video game?
Did you get further in Rogue Legacy to whatever?
I did not. But I'm worried about my controller.
Yeah.
Give me a hard time. Although it wasn't that bad when I was playing Rogue Legacy. It might be okay. A toy is an object to be played with. Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. The interesting thing about toys... Yeah, I think technically an idle game is a digital object to play with. Yeah. So it's more like a toy than a game.
So would Donut County also fall in that digital toy category? There wasn't... I mean, you're just moving around a hole.
Can you...
There's no, like, time or score. It's, like, mildly a puzzle, but so are toys. Toys can be mildly a puzzle.
So there's no time limit on Donut County?
Not that I recall.
Yeah. It's interesting because you brought up Donut County, and that reminded me of Katamari. But Katamari is a game. Like, for sure, Katamari is a game. You can not roll up enough shit in Katamari in the time limit, and then you have to retry the level. And you can... There's the fail state, and there's also setting the high score.
Yeah.
For collecting either the most shit or collecting enough shit the fastest.
Or the most type.
Right. But yeah, I guess, yeah, Donut County, by that definition, not a game, but a toy.
Does that make Rubik's Cube more of a game than Donut County?
Are you putting a time limit on it?
It's more competitive.
Hell yeah.
There's competitive Rubik's Cube, but there's not competitive Donut County.
Sure. You don't know that there's not competitive Donut County.
That's true.
There could be, right?
There could be.
Even if there isn't, there could be. Like, the game, you could play that game in a competitive way.
You could play Cookie Clicker in a competitive way.
Sure. Does the potential to be played as a game necessarily make it a game? I don't think so. But it is interesting that it could be played as a game.
By as a game, you mean competitively.
Right. Because when you add the layer of either I'm going to make more cookies or he's going to make more cookies, now it's a game. Right? If me and you pull up a brand new game on Cookie Clicker right now, and we give ourselves an hour, we're going to do this, aren't we?
No. I don't want to do this.
Okay. And we say go. Now we are definitely playing a game. We turned it into a game. Competitive idle gaming. Dude, sign me up. But the competition is how idle can you actually be at it. That should be the competition. Who can be the most idle? But could you spend money? Does Cookie Clicker let you spend money to... You can... Or yeah, it does. You can, if you, like, donate to them, you get, I think... I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, you can pay to win in Cookie Clicker. What if we start eating the cookies? You'd first have to figure out how to eat an idea, an abstract concept. And if you can figure that out, then we can get to work on cracking that question. That was so fucking close.
Damn.
Okay, it's all good. It's
so
all good.
Lucky.
It's all good. Got him. Hell fucking yeah.
Another. It's two bosses.
2 bosses, 1 run. Everybody remember that video?